Good morning, everyone. Dobro ranku всем. Dzień dobry. Welcome to today's IMC webinar. My name is Andrzej Szurek. I represent Inner Value, and I am also member of the board of directors of IMC. Thank you all for joining to today's webinar and your interest in IMC. Today's meeting is an opportunity to provide you with an overview of IMC business. We'll be discussing about operational performance, strategic direction, particularly in the context of the current market and geopolitical situation. We will also discuss how smart agriculture technologies and operational efficiency support IMC long-term resilience and profitability. I am pleased to introduce today's speakers from the IMC management team. First of all, Aleksander Wierzechowski, Chief Executive Officer. Hello, Aleksander. Hi. Bogdan Krywicki, Chief Operating Officer.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Bogdan. And Dmytro Martyniuk, Chief Financial Officer.
Hi.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today. Let me briefly walk through our today's agenda. First, the management team will deliver a presentation covering IMC business overview. After this presentation, we'll move to QA session where we'll be happy to address your questions. Please feel free to submit your questions via chat. You will be see on the YouTube in the comments sections. You can send these questions during all our meeting. After I will maybe moderate this discussion and address your questions to the Aleksander, Bogdan, and Dmytro. So now I would like to hand over the floor to Aleksander. And Aleksander, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrzej. Good time of the day, everyone, because it's already afternoon in here in Kyiv, in Ukraine. So yeah, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you joined us from. So thank you, Andrzej, for that introduction. And thank you for all of you for joining us and for having this wonderful opportunity to share the information and what we want to share about our company, and to thank you for showing the interest to our company, because if you've joined this event, that means that our company is potentially interesting to you. So hopefully during today's presentation, we're gonna cover all the topics which might be interesting regarding our company. The company we love, the company all of us devoted lots of years of our work in. And yeah, so let's move on. So I'm, as Andrzej introduced, Chief Executive Officer of the company. My name is Aleksander, and I've been working in this company since 2013. And on my current position of CEO, I am working since July 24. Before that, I occupied different other positions in the company, but all the time during the last 13 years within the company. So if to speak about IMC is, let's start from company overview. IMC is one of the top 10 biggest Ukrainian agri-holdings, biggest Ukrainian agricultural companies. So we operate 116,000 hectares of land. In the northeast of Ukraine, this is the region of Ukraine, which are characterized by fertile soils, mainly so-called Chernozems, black soils. Also, yes, we have clay, sandy soils, but mainly Chernozems. And if the proximity of our lands from, if to speak about the whole geography from east to west is roughly 400 kilometers, from north to south roughly 200 kilometers. So all that 116,000 hectares of land, they are divided into 5 clusters, with the centers of the clusters in Chernihiv, Nosivka, Priluki, Sumy, and Poltava correspondingly. All the lands are situated in 3 regions of Ukraine, which are Chernihiv, Sumy, and Poltava regions. The headquarters of the company is situated in Kiev, and the cluster system of the company is built in such a way that each cluster cultivates roughly 25,000 hectares of land. And each cluster has got a silos, grain storage facilities in its center. And all those grain storage facilities, in total, by the way, we possess more than 550,000 tons of storage capacity. And all those storage facilities, they are railway connected to the Black Sea ports, because the most efficient way to trade for us as exporters is to trade it through Black Sea ports and to transport it to seaports by the railway, which is the cheapest way. That's why all our elevators are railway connected to the seaports. Main 3 crops we focus on are corn, which is roughly 60% of our crop mix, winter wheat, which is roughly 20% of our crop mix, and sunflower, which is roughly another 20% of our crop mix. So we focus on these 3 crops. We don't distribute our focus and attention to other crops, because we think that only focus on some particular specification of agricultural production gives opportunity to bring all the expertise and to develop the best practice and technology if all of your team is focused on some very specific crop mix. In our case, we focus on these cash crops because they are either exported or export connected, if to speak about their prices, if to speak about sunflower. So let's move on. Here, as I've mentioned, we focus on export-oriented crops such as corn and wheat. We do exports to vast variety of countries and regions, to EU, to Asia, to Northern Africa, to Middle East. And here on the graph below, you can see that the vast majority of our revenue is got from export. And for instance, 75% in the year 24. The other 25% of revenue is received from sales of sunflower, but this, despite the fact that sunflower is sold on internal market, but its prices are tightly connected with the sunflower oil prices, which are actually the international prices, that we might say that practically total our revenue is connected to export-oriented crops. And the situation with sunflowers is such, for those who are less familiar with Ukrainian legislation, why we do sell sunflower on local market, not exporting it, because in Ukraine we have quite high export duty on sunflowers. So and we have also very good network of crushing facilities for sunflower oil. That's why it's more reasonable to sell it on internal market to local crushing plants. As you know, Ukraine is the biggest sunflower oil producer in the world and exporter. That's why this is also one of the reasons why we do focus on such crop as sunflower. So let's move on. We are the company which have very developed fleet of machinery, which we need, modern machinery. This includes, as you see, more than 670 units of high-capacity agricultural machinery. It's tractors, harvesters, planters, seeders, sprayers, lots of units of tailored agricultural machinery, plows, disc reapers, and so on and so on. Also, we starting from the year 2024, we've invested $22 million in own fleet of railway wagons. At the moment, we have 300 railway wagons which we operate and which give us opportunity to save money on railway logistics, which is very high part of our costs, because as I've mentioned, all of winter wheat, all of corn which we grow is transported to the seaports by railway wagons. Also, we do have in our possession 129 grain trucks. They are mainly used to transport grains from our fields to our elevators, to our grain storage facilities, and also we to transport our sunflower to our customers. But we had an experience, and also we keep this grain trucks fleet as some kind of B scenario, let's say, for the case if we have some interruptions in the railway logistics caused by war affected, let's say, factors which we have right now. This is how we, so despite the fact that we at the moment use mainly railway wagons to transport grains, which is most economically reasonable, but still we are prepared to any kind of scenario, even to that scenario when this railway logistics and railway connection is interrupted. 326 other vehicles, cars, which are used by our specialists, and so on and so on. So, a few words about the how our company has developed through this year. So, next year in 27, we're going to celebrate our 20 years anniversary, and that means that the company was founded in 2007. And if take its development into few stages, I would suggest and would emphasize on 4 of it. So the first period of from 2007 till 2011, it was the period of rapid growth using own resources, own funds, and local Ukrainian funds. And during this period, the main clusters were formulated, and we grew up at that moment. And then when we have reached the level and the land bank of 38,000 hectares, we've decided and we've seen that we need some external funds to be attracted. And one of the most important dates in the history of the company is the 4th of May 2011. This is actually the date when our company has done initial public offering on Warsaw Stock Exchange. So after this date, we have during this IPO we have raised almost $24.5 million US, and thanks to that funds, we have it just like accelerates our further land expansion. And during the next 2 years, we expanded our land bank drastically up to 136.6 thousand hectares. Also, some new grain storage facilities were bought, and practically at that period, the current structure has been formed with 5 clusters and the grain storage facilities in these clusters. And then during the next period, we had this massive land expansion, and also we started cooperating with International Finance Corporation, attracting additional funds to further develop our company. But that was, as you can imagine, quite an rapid and extensive growth. And at that period, we realized that we have somehow to restructure and optimize the business processes within the company. So we've attracted international consultants. It was Ernst & Young. And during 2 next years, which were 2015, 2016, we had very big project on business processes optimization and improvement of all our production and supporting processes, and the improving of the production. During you can imagine how that project was by one fact that during that period, the staff number has decreased from 4,700 employees to 3,200 employees. So we gave up all our site directions. We gave up all our small projects which were acquired together with these assets which we bought during this period of extensive growth. So that was actually the period when we focused on that kind of activity which we still keep doing right now, and in which we consider ourselves to be the experts. And during that period, the new motivation system has been established in the company, which was the KPIs for all the key staff based on the level of their efficiency and the level of gaining the results which are connected with their personal activities within the company. And that was also the period when we, in addition to IFC, we started cooperation with European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. So having those two big international financial institutions in our portfolio shows the high level of companies' transparency, the high level of companies' reporting, and the overall level of the way how we do our business. And then, starting from 2017, we entered let's say the current phase of our company, focusing on keeping the land bank on the level which we have, and focusing on elaborating the strategy for the next 10 years, including very active dividend payment strategy. So that here on that part, and I'll focus and emphasize later on this in a little bit more details. But as you see, starting from 2017, with only a pause in 2022, 2023, and 2024 during the first 3 years of full-scale war in Ukraine, we have paid quite high dividends. And also that our strategy, which was started in 2017, in 2023 was developed, and a block of ESG has been added to it, which we call IMC Smart Strategy. And later on, I will also explain you why we call it Smart Green, not just green. So here you can see a few graphs which showing our track record. So as I've mentioned, boosting growth in 2011, 2013 from the point of view of land bank and storage capacities. After that, we have decreased slightly the land bank, which was caused by focusing on the most efficient and most fertile lands. So we, after acquiring assets during the next few years, we just gave up those land plots which which we consider not to be efficient enough and not to be productive enough, because we have very intensive technological cart, putting lots of resources in each particular hectare, and we want that each particular hectare to give us back what we expect. So those lands, sandy soils, extremely sandy soils, or some other which were acquired together with other assets, we just gave up them. We stopped renting them because we didn't see any reason to keep doing that. So and also a few more graphs showing our revenue and showing our EBITDA. So positive EBITDA throughout all the years. Yeah, obviously lower one in 2022 and 2023 due to obvious results here, obvious reasons. And coming back to the profitable level of, if to consider EBITDA and net profit, starting from 24, and the year 25 is already behind, but we are still finalizing our annual report, which will be traditionally published at the end of April, at the beginning of May of current year. So crop production dynamics, roughly 800,000 tons of altogether 3 crops which we grow during the last few years, which shows our impacts and our role in the food security of Ukraine and of the world in general. 3 slides showing the dynamics of our crop yields. So the red line shows the average crop yield for that particular crop in Ukraine, showing that every particular year we exceed that level of average crop yield in Ukraine, at least 15, 20, in some cases 50%. Yes, here is our planned crop mix for the year 26. And on this point, at this point, I want to give a floor to my friend, to my colleague, our Chief Operation Officer, Bogdan Krivitsky, and he will get you more familiar with what we are doing from production side. Bogdan, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, again. Nice to meet you here. And thank you, Alexander, for the presentation and for presenting me. My name is Bogdan Krivitsky. I'm a Chief Operation Officer in our company. And if we speak about the crop mix for the 2026, it will be, as you can see on the slide, quite traditional for us. We will have 21,000 hectares of winter wheat and 25.5 of sunflower, and our main crop is corn. We'll have 63.4 for this year. Actually, as we are a smart green company, it will be good to speak about the smart agriculture and practices that we have in our company. So we're trying to make like a constant flow of IT solutions and software decision which we have in our company, which will and helps us to make a proper decision-making process and to operate properly with our on-site activities and field crops conditions, and of course to manage our land bank. So if we speak about the farm management systems, the primary one is for now it's crop-wise operations by Syngenta company. It's this IT solution, this software helps us first of all to make a proper field scouting. So just for your understanding, our team of our agronomists made like thousands of field reports per year, and which includes crop health, pest pressure, every single operation which doing right in the moment when our agronomists in the field. So it's like make some kind of database which we use to control, to manage our operation. We also have the ability to upload and visualize soil testing from our fields to understand more our soil and to manage our fertilization process within the year. We also have the ability to visualize the soil compaction of each of our fields. We have penetrologers, so it's devices which shows us where exactly soil compaction situated in the soil, and helps us to manage the tillage process, to choose the proper depth of the tillage on each field. Of course, we use remote sensing as well. The most of all, it's satellite imagery with using of NDVI Spectre. It helps us to track the vegetation history and to see the different production zone within our fields. And we have the real-time weather stations, like stationary one, and mobile as well on our machinery, on sprayers, for example. All this data helps us to improve our agronomist efficiency to get more and more efficient. If you speak about data capture and data integration, we have 3 software decisions to do that. It's Pre-Agri, it's Operation Center by John Deere, and Vialon. So we try and we get all as applied data from our fields, from our machinery. It means that every single sprayer, seeder, fertilizer spreader capture as applied data, and we know exactly how much we applied of our input directly in the field. We also have the yield mapping system on each of our combine which we operate. It gives us the ability to create the precise yield maps, and once again, it helps us to understand our field and to know more about the production zones, to know and to know how to manage this. All this stuff helps us to yield mapping and as applied data, soil testing helps us to do and to create the proper variable rate application maps. It means that we put specific rate of each input into a specific production zone, and that's why it helps us to be more efficient, to save our cost, to get more yield from our fields. We also use Vialon software to have total fleet tracking of our machinery, of our vehicles. We know exactly each spot of every single vehicle that we have in operation. It helps us to control, speed and accuracy of fuel operation, and of course, improving the efficiency. We have calculation of each field work day by day regime. As you maybe know, in Ukraine, we have a lot of land plots. In particular, in our company, we have more than 30,000 land plots, and we need digital instruments to manage this. In our case, it's Panorama and Feodal. And this software are pretty good. They helps us to make a proper land management, to have all the data from our land plots and our land lease contracts in one place. And unified register of all these land lease agreements. It's very comfortable to use and manage such a big amount of data. On this slide, you can see the different precision agriculture and regenerative agriculture practices that we applied and which we're trying to improve still. I mentioned before about the variable rate application, one of the key processes in our company if you speak about the production. And we're also trying to improve the spot spraying. In our spraying process, it means this process, this machinery feature helps us to save the herbicides and save the money, of course, and to improve the precision of this process. Also, we're permanently decreasing the water consumption during the spraying, which also makes us more flexible within the season. Of course, every single machinery which works within our field operates with autopilot, with high precision. We're also upgrading each of our seeder for increasing the speed of operation. And regenerative practices like soil amelioration of sandy soils on the north of our fields, reducing tillage, and of course our R&D department permanently testing the different biological products. And of course, the most innovative stuff, which it's popular right now, it's AI, and we trying to do our best to integrate AI cases in our different fields of operation of our company. Of course, it touches the R&D department, so we're trying to integrate and integrates. We are integrating the AI to choose the best plot for the R&D, for the researching. And of course, we integrate into commercial department, to conversational data analytics, and all this stuff in nearest future will be gathered in corporate knowledge base. So it will be help us to operate of this huge amount of data and be quick in our decision. So I guess it's all. If we speak about the smart field of our operation, and Alexander, thank you for this word, and I will bring you the floor back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bogdan. So let's focus on our third part on the fulfillment of the strategy, which we've focused on and we have elaborated for ourselves. So as I've mentioned, starting from 2016, we have initiated the strategy which was focused on the improvement of operational efficiency. And as Bogdan have shown, we are constantly testing and improving our field works, our supporting functions. We have very big R&D department which is working every year, testing hundreds of something new, and that which is showing its efficiency is rapidly introduced in the production. Also, throughout all this period, starting from 2016, we are working on the reduction of our debt, and I will show you the results later on. And coming back to operational efficiency, or focus on the most fertile soils, giving up bad soils is also the part of this portion of our strategy, let's say. And starting from 2017, as I mentioned, within our strategy, we have focused on payment of dividends to our shareholders. By the way, this our policy, the active dividend payment policy, have resulted in our position right now as one of the top companies within the Warsaw Stock Exchange, if to consider the dividend yield. Then later on, starting from year 2023, following the global agenda, let's elaborated the addition to our strategy, which we called a smart green strategy, which means that we are becoming more green, we are becoming more ecological, but with the very smart and very pragmatic approach. So for our focus when we introduce any green initiative is, first of all, how it is affecting our efficiency. If that kind of green improvement, green instrument, in turn improves our efficiency, in this case we do introduce it. We never put ecological aspects like as at the core. Ecological aspects are always a kind of a good byproduct of our efficiency improvement. We have lots of examples of such cases, like renovation of our trucks to more productive one, but at the same moment to more ecological one. Giving up a deep tillage in Poltava region, which was caused by the precipitation and moisture deficit, and in turn it had very strong positive ecological effect. So, and tens and tens are the examples of such a kind of our approach to our smart green strategy. And we are doing that because we are pretty sure that sooner or later we will become the part of United European Community with very strong requirements and regulations if to speak about ESG. And that's why we don't want to be shocked and surprised, but that moment, but the date when the decision about the Ukraine entering EU will be done. We want to get prepared to that, and also our public status, being public and being traded on Warsaw Stock Exchange, gives us some additional requirements, at least to have a strong agenda and strong part on ESG aspects, which are traditionally every year added as the part of our annual report. So in our annual report, you can see the details of us fulfilling our smart green strategy. And here you can see some slides showing the execution of our strategy. What I've already mentioned, the reduction of our debt is one of our strategic aims and points. So we can see from its peak of almost $164 million of debt till the end of year 2025. We have reached the figure of $18 million. Here you can see the last column, which was for the end of September, and the figure for the end of December is $18 million. Also, in the table below, you can see the story of our dividend payment in absolute figures and dividend yield. So you can see the dividend yield is extremely high. Pay attention then that in years 2021 and year 2025 there were two payments, so in summer and in autumn. Yeah, so being public company, we have 18% of our shares which are free float on Warsaw Stock Exchange. 5.6% belongs to minor shareholder Alex Lisica, who is the chairman of our board of directors, and 76% of our shares are accumulated in the hands of our major shareholder, who is Alexander Petrov. And we have very strong feelings and very strong beliefs that the minor shareholders, despite the fact that free float is considerably low, have to be protected. We very rapidly react on all the signals from the stock exchange and from the market. One of the good examples of such our reaction is last year case after some events on Warsaw Stock Exchange with other Ukrainian public companies, when we have made an amendments to our statute protecting minor shareholders from non-competitive actions from the side of major shareholder. So that was very rapid in response on the wish of minor shareholders in our case. So, and yeah, here in between the board members, you can also see Andrei Shurek's name, who was starting today's presentation. Yeah, and also a few words about our history on Warsaw Stock Exchange in Warsaw. As I mentioned, we have done initial public offering on the 4th of May 2011. And at that moment, 24% of shares have been offered for initial public offering, and we attracted $24.4 million. In addition to those practical and obvious results which we gained from that IPO, which are shown here below, the land bank increase for more than 2 times, for 118%, 76% of grain storage capacities increase. At that time, we had also cattle milk production, so we purchased some cattle heads. Also, you can see the dynamics of our shares price, which we consider to be a very good one. And additionally, what we've gained from IPO, which we've done in 2011, was that public status gave us some additional competitive advantages with the financial institutions. Our publicity and made us much more transparent towards all our partners, financial partners, trade partners, and so on, which give us opportunity, and we still gain those benefits from being public, having the best conditions probably in Ukraine or with all our partners on financial side, on trade side, on input supply side. And it's also very good from the point of view of employees that the company is public, that the company is transparent, that the company has very transparent, sorry for repeating, policy towards all the aspects of its activities. So that's actually all what we wanted to tell from our side within these 3 blocks. We are more than open to answer all your questions if you have them. So I give the floor to Andrzej.
Yeah, I'm back. That is a signal that we are started Q&A session. Thank you for this presentation, and I think that we can say in more details some issues, some questions. And now I see that we have around the 10 questions, but you still sent us some questions, interesting things by chat in section comments. And is a part of financial, operational, and more strategic questions. So maybe let's start from the operational side. What is the current war situation in the regions where IMC holds its land bank? Has the infrastructure suffered any damage over the past 2 months?
Thank you for the question. Yep, that's a good question. So the situation here in Ukraine in general and in the regions where we do operate in particular is quite tough. Let's say I will be frank and I will be most open with you. So the war is coming to its 4th year anniversary. I have never expected, I have never thought that we will have to overcome and to live through the wartime of such a long distance, let's say. If to speak about our regions, they are, if you've seen the map, they are quite close to Belarusian to Russian border. They are at the same time, they are quite distanced from the front line, because as you probably know, not the whole borderline between Ukraine and Russia is the front line. So the front line is in Kharkiv, Lugansk, Donetsk, and Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. So at the same time, there are some tensions on the border all the time, especially if you speak about Sumy region. So we do have to take that into account, let's say. We do have to elaborate some measurements to protect our equipment, to protect our staff from that, because the whole territory of Ukraine from time to time is the subject for rocket attacks, object for rocket attacks. So within the last 2 months, we didn't have any severe accidents connected with war in our company. Before that, we did have few. We did have one accident on our Sumy elevator when there was the attack of a drone. On that, the most severe case was actually at the beginning of the war, when, as you remember, and by the way, I forgot to mention that during in my presentation, when the war started, when the full-scale war started in February 22, more than 70% of our land bank was either occupied or blocked by Russian troops, so we didn't have access to it. So, and our Chernihiv grain storage facility, which is in the city of Chernihiv, it was severely attacked by Russians. And when we get an access to it in April 22, we have counted more than hits on the elevator, on the silos. And we have renovated it till June 2022, so within the next 3 months. So in July 22, it was already able to start receiving grains from the new harvest. So the overall situation is quite tough. So as I've mentioned, we are quite lucky that not non-single extremely severe damage was done to our equipment and techniques and to people. Our security guys, especially there in northern regions, they had to elaborate some additional safety procedures protecting our equipment from drones, from other attacks during their field works. So this is some new specialization to the company, which I've never expected that we will have to learn to do. But as our figures show, we have adopted to that. Because thanks God, the seaports are functioning despite the fact of daily attacks on them. Thanks God, railway logistics is functioning despite the fact of everyday attacks on them, and we have an access to all our lands. We during the last 3 years we have planted on 100% of our lands. We plan to plant on 100% of our lands this current season. So hopefully the war will end soon. But if it not, we have adopted to work in this kind of war conditions.
Thank you, Alexander, for detailed comments. The next questions also related to logistics and indirectly to war about channels of export of grain. What percentage of exports goes through Black Sea ports, and how much is transported overland via the European Union borders? And maybe some comments from me about security in ports.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. So at the moment, 100% of our crops are exported through Black Sea ports. So this is the most efficient, this is the cheapest, and taking into account our geographical position, the most convenient and the quickest way to export the grains. But we do have an experience, and we have prepared ourselves, as I told you, to hopefully not happening with the seaports blocked or railway logistics interruption, because we have faced that kind of situation already in the first half of 2022, when the seaports were totally blocked, and we had lots of stocks from 2021. We searched for alternative routes, and we used alternative routes. These were, first of all, the river ports of Danube River. Also, we have exported through Romania, Constanța port. Also, we have exported some portion of grain to our western borders through our borders with EU. But taking into account our geographical position, it's not very convenient. That's why, in the case if we have opportunity to export through Black Sea ports, we do use this opportunity. Just for your comparison, the railway logistics to Danube seaports, it is at least 25-30% more expensive than to Black Sea ports. If to speak about western borders, railway logistics to western borders is 40 up to 50% more expensive than to Black Sea ports. That's why for us we use the most efficient way to export.
Great.
And yeah, and there was the second question about the situation in the seaports. It's quite tough, but I'm surprised and shocked how they manage to work in such a kind of conditions, because 3 seaports of so-called big Odessa, which are Chernomorsk, Odessa itself, and Pivdenne, last year have fulfilled the exports, the same level as it was before war, including Mykolaiv port, including Kherson port, including ports of Azov Sea. So they do fantastic job. For sure, these kind of attacks and damages have affected the specificity of their job. So they now try not to accumulate large lots of grain within the ports. So the vessel comes, most of grain is accumulated on the nearby railway stations next to the seaport, and then within 2-3 days they come to the seaport, they load the vessel, and the vessel goes away. So not to keep lots of grains in the seaports because of the risk of attacks.
Okay, let's follow to the next questions related to the weather conditions. What's the current conditions of the winter wheat? Is the snow cover sufficient to protect it from frost?
Thank you for the question. Yes, we have very tough winter this year. I don't remember such kind of winter for probably for the last decade at least. At the same moment, we have a very good snow cover. We had few quite intensive snowstorms within the last 1.5 months. The only exclusion is the south of Poltava region, where the snow cover is not that much, but it's still there. So from our expertise and from our experience, winter wheat overcomes that kind of frost which we have right now if it has that amount of snow cover which it has right now. But now it is such a stage for the winter wheat when we yes, we can only estimate it, we can only do some suggestions, but before we do take so-called monoliths from the soil together with the crop, which we do normally in the end of February, beginning of March, and then we put it in the warm place, and we just like we see when we observe how it germinates and how it develops in the warm place. That is actually the point when we can make some very precise prognosis. At the moment, everything looks more or less good, but it's still some kind of tricky game to try to guess what will be the outcome.
Okay, thank you. Let's back to the logistics issues. What's the price of logistics from the inland silos to CPT? And participant asking about dividing by segment, by rail and ports.
So we do sell all our crops on CPT basis, which means that our responsibility is only to transport the grain to the seaport. So the port logistics is not on our side, let's say. Yeah, so we don't pay for loading to the vessel and so on. The railway logistics cost, it varies a lot. It depends on the season. It depends on the situation. So before the new year, let's say till December 25, it was the lower level of costs, and starting from January 26, the price was increased. But if to speak about average figures, they are roughly in between 18, $19 US per ton in our case. So it depends on our elevator, because some of them are more distance from the seaport, let's say 100 kilometers to the north. Some of them are closer. But this is some kind of an average figure of our costs if to speak about current conditions. By the way, at the beginning of war, this figure is quite similar to one which we had before war. Then obviously at the beginning of war, when we had this tough situation, extremely tough situation with the seaports, with the railway logistic, the prices increased drastically, and now up till now they slightly came back to the pre-war level, which shows that at the moment our railway operator have also somehow adopted to the current conditions and current situation with the war-related risks here in the country.
Thank you for clarification. Let's go to precision agriculture, because we have 2-3 questions about it. How much have costs for fertilizers, crop protection products, and fuel been reduced through the precision agriculture? What capex is planned for general agriculture equipment in 2026?
Alexander?
Yeah,
Okay.
just take a comment.
Yeah, thank you. Well, if we speak about the capex in 2026, if we speak about the capex into machinery, it is roughly close to $10 million US dollars per year, and it includes tractors, sprayers, tillage equipment, and of course precision farming tools. If we speak about the investments into precision farming features within the year, it's close to $500,000. It varies year by year, but it'll roughly, in average, it will be like this. And so, if we speak about the technical instruments, they are more expensive usually, because the software not counts not like the machinery. So every single machinery point which we buy, so we pay by the one single unit. And if we speak about the software, very often we can pay like for the hectares in average, so it's much more cheaper. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. But could you explain the impact relation between using of precision agriculture and reducing the cost of fertilizer?
It depends. Actually, it depends from the type of operation. If we speak about autopilot, it's close to 8% per year, because of the efficiency of operation increased to 8%. So it's like you became more efficient and you spend 8% less fuel to do the same job. Just like that. The same stuff with fertilizer spreader. If you use the autopilot, it works. If we speak about the variable rate application, we have close to $40 per hectare economy when we use VRA. But not every single field we can use to the VRA, because of the relief, because of the different field conditions. Like close to 40,000 hectares we using with variable rate application.
Okay, great, thank you.
If you allow me to add just one comment, we have decided and we have established the annual capex figure in agricultural machinery on the level of $10 million US dollars, as Bogdan mentioned, for the next years, which gives our colleagues from operation team a very clear view and opportunity to have a long-term track and planning. What kind of machinery they want to renovate within the next years. And from my point of view, all that investments can be considered as the investments in precision agriculture, because despite the Bogdan told very correctly, because there are some specific precision agriculture tools. But in the case, if we buy new tractor, for instance, on your sprayer, equipped already with all modern instruments like boom control, like modern antenna, let's say, and so on and so on, it gives us opportunity to develop ourselves from the point of view of precision agriculture. So I personally consider that all that investment is precision agriculture investment.
Okay, so roughly 10 million. Okay, thank you. One specific questions about role of drones. I mean, I hope that is that participant have been taking into account of agro drones. Could you comment how are you planning to increase role of drone in your activity?
Bogdan?
Well, for this situation which we have right now in the fields, drones is the only area application option that we have, because like the regular planes are like not allowed to use. So there is a few stages within the season with our crops when they are so tall that we just don't have the ability to use our traditional self-propelled sprayers, even with their clearance, high clearance. For instance, for this year, we have our corn like up to 3 meters. That's why it's like we just need to do this. Otherwise, our crops will be staying without any protection. It depends from the region, because it's not so easy to use drones during the wartime because of different specific radio electronic stuff which uses. But we are trying to make up to 12,000 hectares per year totally with the help of the drones. And today was like we was established the plan for this season, plan of field jobs, and actually we also planned drone spraying as well.
Thank you for explanation. Let's move to the questions more related to financial side. Does having ESG strategy make it easier for the company to raise capital from the international institutions such as European Investment Bank or EBRD?
Obviously, yes. Actually, it's always, I think that such kind of initiatives like ESG, like becoming more smart and so on, they should be somehow driven, let's say. They should be driven either from inside or from outside. It's good when you are more green and you get the premium for your product. In this case, it's good that if you are green, you get cheaper credit from the financial institution, let's say. Yeah, so it should be somehow driven, to my opinion, let's say. And this is, by the way, the very good case of that, because actually EBRD now working with such companies like ours, they do already put very strong requirements on the ESG part to be there in place in the company. Moreover, they are even ready to support the company who wants to attract their financing to get to that sufficient level of their ESG agenda, let's say. They can give, even in our case, when in 2023, we have received the loan from EBRD for $13 million. For that money, we have purchased 75 grain trucks. And one of the conditions of that was that we undergo the project of evaluation of the level of our ESG strategy here in place. And actually, EBRD helped us and financed the attraction of external consultant to fulfill this project. So the answer is yes. It's very strongly connected with the opportunities for the company to get the external financing. If you are strong in green, if you're strong in ESG, if it is reflected in your strategy, if it is reflected in your current policy, then you have a bigger chance to get a strong cooperation with such international financial institutions as you've mentioned.
It's good to hear that it's working. Thank you. Questions about dividends and dividend policy. In 2025, the company paid a dividend for the second time since the start of the war, full-scale war, let's underline. Given current profitability, does management plan to maintain regular dividend payments in 2026?
We are planning to keep fulfilling our strategy in all its aspects, including constant dividend payments. But obviously, the final decision will be made by the board after the finalization of our annual report and having all the figures. What we see right now, the figures, we had quite a good result in 25. But the final decision will be made when these figures, which we see right now, will be audited, will be proven by our external auditor, will be published. And after that, straight after that, the decision will be made about our dividend policy for the current year. But as I mentioned, in general, we plan to keep fulfilling our long-term strategy, including our dividend policy.
Thank you. Also good to hear it. Okay, one more strategic questions about future. I combined this because this is two separate but related to the one context. Does the company plan to diversify its business by entering industries other than the agricultural sector? I think that participant thinking about farming segment. So this is the questions. And does the company plan to attract external financing for the development of the company and the implementation of the new potential projects?
Thank you for the questions. First question, actually, we don't plan to expand the specificity, let's say, of our activities. Moreover, we have undergone very long way from the broad variety of different directions of production to very focusing on some specific ones. And we, in our case, taking into account and looking through our results and financial figures, we see that this strategy was the good one. Specialization in our case, when all your staff can focus on something very specific and keep learning in that, keep developing in that area. We think this to be our, let's say, key strong side, with obviously with some disadvantages and with some pros and cons, let's say, as always. Nothing is perfect, let's say. But if to speak about entering some other industries, we don't have such kind of plans. We still have a plan to focus on what we do. What we also, but still what we plan, with one remark that it might be planned and realized only when the full-scale war ends. We will consider. I will rephrase. We will come back to considering some kind of projects like prolonging our production cycle and production chain. So before war, we have considered some opportunities for crushing facilities, let's say. We have done even feasibility study on, because we are quite a big producer of sunflower, let's say. So it's quite obvious to keep in mind some opportunity not to sell the sunflower seeds, but to crush it by yourself and sell sunflower oil, getting this added value and keeping it in the company, within the company, not giving it to some third party. So we have done such kind of feasibility study. We have it. Obviously, after the war, it has to be revised because the conditions will change, the figures will change, and so on and so on. But we have freezed all the development projects to the whole time while we are in conditions of full-scale war with all the set of war-related risks. But after the war, we will come back to considering where we can develop and where we can grow. And yes, obviously, such kind of development projects, it's normal and it's logic to do that in partnership with some big financial institutions with their support. For that aim, despite the fact that you've seen how extremely we have reduced our debt, but we still keep very tight contact with all our partner banks, local ones, international ones, just to keep them in our portfolio for such cases. For such cases, if we decide after the war to have some kind of development projects, we are addressed by these financial institutions almost every month. They want to help us. We are quite an attractive client for them because we have very transparent and very good credit history. We have never had and we have never faced any kind of failures of payment our debts. That's why we have very good reputation from this side, and that's why they want to have some projects in partnership with us. And we tell them just the same story as we told right now to you. Let's wait till the war ends, and then let's speak about development projects.
Yeah, I think this is a good comment. Let's the word end, because it was. It seems that it was our last questions. So thank you for all participants to joining to us to interest in IMC and active participation with questions. We also available by emails with IMC Investor Relations department. On the next slide, I think this is a address of Yulia Andrushkina. So if you have some kind of other questions, feel free to contact with Yulia, and feel free for asking for the other events of IMC. Alexander, Bogdan, Dmytro, thank you for your participation. Very detailed comments, and wish you a peace week and very quick end of the war.
Thank you, Andrei.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Bye.
Bye.